Reimagining Success, episode 184. You're listening to Reimagining Success, the podcast where we help you reimagine your future, designing a life and career beyond the 9 to 5 that allows you the freedom, flexibility and fulfillment that you've been dreaming of. I'm your host, Anna Lundberg. Now, let's get started on those dreams. Welcome back. My name is Anna Lundberg and I am your host, and today we're looking at how to stand out in a cluttered market. Now, this is something that comes up again and again, and of course only gets worse and worse, harder and harder, because the market, there are many markets, get more and more cluttered. Why is that? Because of these amazing opportunities that exist now for entrepreneurs, freelancers, side hustlers. Anyone can self-publish a book. Anyone can start a podcast, of course, with a little bit of effort, with a little bit of work. The reality is that not so many people will stay consistently with that and be resilient enough to last over the long haul. But it's true that the sheer amount of people who can put out videos and reels and audio and pictures and blog posts, etc., and sell programs and so on, when we see that, and unfortunately, the deeper we get into a particular industry, so me as a coach, the algorithms pick up that that's what I do. And of course, I'm bombarded with only other coaches and similar programs. So it's easy to get that paranoia that I've talked about before, comparison syndrome, and be overwhelmed by all the things that other people are doing. And of course, there's this perception that the grass is greener. We only see other people's businesses from the outside. So it looks like everyone has their together, and you actually have no idea, are they even making any sales? Yes, they've done a webinar. Yes, they've put up a program, but are they actually, and they're charging amazing amounts of money, but are they actually bringing in money? Who knows, right? So that's a different question. And it doesn't really matter whether they're hugely successful or hugely unsuccessful. Doesn't really have any bearing on you and your business, because you are so unique in your experience and expertise. Now, the first thing to answer here, first point to make in terms of standing out in a cluttered market is every market is cluttered, pretty much, right? So actually, this is a good thing because it means there is a market. If it's not cluttered, if people aren't yet doing what you're doing, and by the way, of course, you first have to do the due diligence of finding that out, even a quick Google, researching, looking for books, looking for podcasts, looking for other experts in that field. If there's nothing there, then either you're incredibly innovative and pioneering, which is amazing, congratulations, but no offense, it's pretty unlikely, or there is currently no pull for that. There's some reason why it hasn't happened, people don't get it yet, and so on. So, I certainly don't want to put you off doing something incredibly unique and new. Just know that if you do see that there is a cluttered market, if there are a lot of people doing what you're doing, that's probably a good thing. So that's the shift I want you to think about. So don't let that put you off starting a business. Now, another perspective, another point is that you actually have no competition at all. Why is that? Because you are so unique. You have a unique mix of experience, expertise, and eccentricities. There you go, the 3 E's: experience, expertise, and eccentricities. I'm sure I've talked in the past about my coach who was a cheerleader in the past, and she talks about that as a great skill, right? She was an athlete. She had that discipline. She knows what it takes, and also to take care of her well-being. Or, for me, of course, I have my corporate background, but then I also have my international background. I have my academic university experience. These things are relevant to who I am. They're also relevant to you, if that is relatable for you. And that gives me a unique spin versus someone who has incredibly been entrepreneurial since birth. Someone, Richard Branson. I've got Chris Ducker on the podcast later this month, and he has essentially been doing side hustles and things from the very start, the Hong Kong film company and a sales and marketing agency, and he's got hundreds of people working for him now. I don't have that experience. I have a different view of these things, a different take. So superficially, it might look like you do something similar to someone else, but you're bringing a unique experience, unique expertise, your hard skills, soft skills, and importantly, your personality strengths are different to someone else's. And then your eccentricities, your quirks. This is, funnily enough, something that's come up from many different directions very recently to me. So it's made me question, what are my quirks? I asked in my Facebook group, in the Escape the 9 to 5 group, and the answers weren't very quirky, to be honest, but they were very nice in terms of the strengths that I put across in terms of being relatable and down to earth and honest and very knowledgeable, transparent, warm, all these things that I really aspire to be. I like to think I am. So it's really great to hear that back. Not so quirky though. So I'm going to have a think about that. I know in the past, I've kind of brought things like, and my friends from the past think I'm still very much into Disney. I must say, as I approach the big 4-0, that has a little bit fallen by the wayside. Although, of course, I still enjoy, giving my daughter the princess dresses and watching a few films with her. Encanto was pretty good, right? But I have lost that a little bit. So that's not really a core part of my personality. I run, I love the sea, but I have to think if there's anything that's particularly quirky. So answers on a postcard, please, if you picked up on any weird quirks that I do. So I do enjoy the fact and appreciate the fact that people have mirrored back the strengths that I have. But yeah, not so crazy. So let me know if there's any quirks that you've picked up on as a listener. Podcast@onestepoutside.com, or you can message me on social. But given all this, right, given the fact that every market is cluttered, it's actually a good thing if it's cluttered, if there is a market, and in a way you have no competitors at all, you need to get really clear on what makes you different and communicate that in an effective and compelling way. So there are two pieces to this. Number one, get clear. Number two, communicate. So the first thing we do, and this is something we do in the Business Academy, check that out. It's a new program, onestepoutside.com/course, onestepoutside.com/course. And there'll be lots more about that on my social platforms if you're listening to this live, because it's a new program that's just come out. But we're looking at really understanding who you are, your personal brand framework. This is something I developed years ago, inspired by the product brand framework that we had in my corporate days at Procter & Gamble. So a very kind of academic approach, I suppose, to it. But I find it really helps to get that level of clarity of understanding your purpose, the values, the things you want to be known for, the things that are really core to who you are, your strengths, your skills, and how you can bring that to life. So again, remember those 3 E's I've just made up: experience, expertise, and eccentricities. And more strategically, perhaps as well, your value proposition for your business and your elevator pitch. Again, this is something we do in the course and something that we do in all our personal branding work. It's the kind of thing that you have to have in your bio, in your headline on your website. What do you do, for whom, and how do you do it? Who are you working with? What are you doing for them, with them, and how are you doing it? I help experienced corporate professionals quit their jobs to start and grow a business so that they can have more freedom, flexibility, and fulfillment, or so that they can escape the 9-to-5 by a combination of coaching and mentoring. We can play around with that, the who, what, how piece, and the so what, I think, is really important. So what's your elevator pitch? What's your big headline? What do you want to be known for? I think I actually share in the course, if I remember correctly, that I've always been, and I remember this from working with a coach years ago, I've always been a bit reluctant to own this escape the 9-to-5 piece. Specifically, I should say, I've been reluctant to own the quitting your job piece, because I'm never one to push people, persuade, convince in any way. And also, that's not what it's about for me. So escaping the 9-to-5 I like, because especially in the recent context of hybrid working and, of course, working from home and the increased flexibility, Airbnb recently announced their flexible work from anywhere, which is very on brand for them, of course. With all that happening, escaping the 9-to-5 doesn't have to mean even quitting your job, right? It can mean finding a flexible employer. The personal brand work I'm talking about today is just as important and valuable for someone who's building their personal brand within a company, within an industry, as for somebody who is building their own business. So for me, it's more the reimagining success, hence the name of this podcast. It's the escaping the 9-to-5 in terms of building that freedom, flexibility, and fulfillment. That's what I want to be known for. I don't want to be known for quitting your job. I'm not the screw the 9-to-5, screw the cubicle, whatever kind of message. I'm also not the marketing tactics. Here's how you do a video on TikTok. No, that's not me. I can always tell you how to do it, but that's not the core part. I'm much more about the big picture, vision, strategies, the timeless principles that are going to apply whatever happens. Again, funny enough, in the interview with Chris, it's fresh on my mind from yesterday. We were talking about the fact that, these principles are timeless. He was talking about VHS and fax back in the day when he started his first business. And although that doesn't exist anymore, the principles of generating leads and having conversations and selling and marketing and so on are the same. So that's what I want to communicate and stand for. So number one, create a picture of who you are, what you do. Experience, expertise, eccentricity is the 3 E's. And maybe you're more eccentric than I am. I don't know. and your value proposition, your elevator pitch. This is what I do for this kind of client, and this is how I do it, so that X, Y, Z. Secondly is communicating it. And I mentioned there already, this is going to be on your website, right? If you go to my website, One Step Outside, you can see the headline, helping you design and build a life and business that allows you to escape the 9 to 5. I have also my annalundberg.com, by the way, where I talk more about the reimagining success message. You'll see it in my Instagram bio. You'll see the LinkedIn headline. You'll see it in my Facebook personal and professional about section. So that's where you're going to sort of fundamentally bring it to life in a static way. And then, more interestingly, more dynamically, you're going to incorporate it and bring it to life in your content. Again, this is something we cover in the course, onestepoutside.com/course. Have a look at the Business Academy. But you can refer to your experience in videos. You can demonstrate your expertise by teaching, educating. Again, just yesterday, I was running the Business Accelerator Masterclass. And again, by the way, you can get the recording of this, onestepoutside.com/masterclass, onestepoutside.com/masterclass. And so I'm teaching, I'm educating on the 5 pillars of building that life outside the 9 to 5. And then, as I said, allow your quirks to come through. So again, I guess my quirk would be, but again, I'm looking forward to your answers for me. It's always easier to see this in someone else, that I am super down to earth and honest. You know, I chat about being in the bath and replying to messages and the kids and so on, right? I'm very open and relatable about the challenges and the reality of running the business. So I hope that comes across, and I hope that is, it's a harder slog, I suppose. If I did more of the hardcore, pushy marketing and really bigged myself up and said, I've got the secret to a 7-figure business, maybe I'd sell more, but that's not what I do. So there you go. So how to stand out in a cluttered market. Number 1, every market is cluttered. Number 2, that's actually a good thing. And number 3, you need to work out what makes you different and communicate that in an effective way, right? So first of all, it is who you are, what you do. And that's already 2 pieces, right? Who you are, your experience, expertise, and eccentricities, your value proposition, your elevator pitch, and what you do is also then how are your programs different? I have group programs, but they're very intimate, small groups. Everybody gets a lot of FaceTime, one-on-one time with me. And that's very different to many group programs where either you're working with the kind of minions of the big famous coach, or, you only get a quick hot seat of maybe 2-3 minutes to ask something. So that's, again, really consistent feedback I get from my clients, and I really value that. And I would never allow the program, Business Accelerator in this case, to grow beyond a particular size. If it grew beyond a certain size, then I'd be having multiple calls to make sure I could cover that, right? So for me, that's really different and really important. I know, first of all, that I always want to over-deliver, and secondly, that you need more support perhaps than you think, and I always want to give that support. I don't want to just say, oh, sorry, you can have like 10 seconds in this call and then that's it. So for me, that's also what I do differently. So I hope that's both reassuring and inspiring. Go forth, be yourself, find out what yourself is. There is a boundary between what, who you are as a whole and complete human being and what you're communicating. And that's fine. And I draw that line too. But we still want to be ourselves, we want to be authentic and bring to life that experience, expertise, and little quirks and eccentricities. Because then people are choosing you for a unique reason, because they relate to you, they know, like, and trust you, as we say, rather than you just being a commodity. I think I've shared, in fact, last week's episode, or a couple of weeks ago at least, was about how to choose a business coach. If someone comes to me and says, I'm speaking to 11 other coaches, I know, and it's not just me being, lacking confidence, I know that they're probably not going to choose me because they've literally got an Excel sheet with 12 people. They don't know me well enough if they're getting lost in a long list of other coaches to decide to work with me. Whereas someone who's joined my workshops, maybe in the Facebook group, watched my videos, you guys listen to the podcast, you know me well enough to know if you like my approach, the style, the 5 pillars that I teach, and so on, my big picture vision and mission of reimagining success. And it's much more likely then that we'll get on and we'll click and we'll work effectively together. So that's really important too. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you next week. Bye for now. Are you an experienced corporate professional who wants to find a way to translate your skills and experience into profitable business? A new business owner who's been running so far on trial and error and now wants to be more strategic and systematic, or perhaps an established entrepreneur who wants to revisit and maybe change some of the fundamentals to take your business in a new direction. I have something for you. It is the new Outsiders Business Academy. This is a self-paced course for you to work through in your own time to learn and implement the foundations of building a profitable business that lets you escape the 9-to-5 for good. Find out more and grab your spot at onestepoutside.com/course. That's onestepoutside.com/course.